Hello Vikings, it's Miss Hawkins here to explain how to create an Ancient Egypt booklet. Follow along with me as we read the directions. Now that we have completed our study of Ancient Egypt, you will be creating a booklet to help others learn more about everything you have learned and found interesting. This is your test for this unit. This booklet will include a title page, pictures, and information about the social pyramid, along with 2 other topics of your choosing. For each page, you must include every piece of information indicated on the rubric. You will not receive your final draft paper until you have shown your teacher that all of the information necessary is already prepared on your note taker and or on a piece of scratch paper. Make sure to follow the directions in order to create your booklet. So you're going to take a blank piece of paper. You're going to fold it in half, hamburger ways. You now have 4 pages. Title page, inside, social hierarchy, topic of your choice, and then a different topic of your choice. For each page, you must include every piece of information indicated on the rubric. Friends, that is so important. I put it in the directions twice. For example, the required social hierarchy page, you will need to draw and label everything correctly. You will then pick one profession and explain why it was important. Then you'll answer the essential question, which was the most important profession in the lower class. All of this information must be on your social hierarchy page to receive full credit for that page. The provided note taker does not have space for you to draw and label the social hierarchy pyramid, so you will need to do that on scratch paper. There are a few things you may end up needing to do on scratch paper, either because there's not enough space or there's no space for it to begin with. So let's go over the rubric. Page 1 contains all of the following. It has your full name, first and all last names, the title. If this is the Ancient Egypt booklet, what should your title be? Probably Ancient Egypt, good point. And at least 2 pictures related to Ancient Egypt. And then on the inside, page 2 is the social hierarchy pyramid drawn and labeled correctly. That's worth 5 points. Then you will pick a profession and explain why it was important. That's worth another 5 points. It can be any profession except what you talk about for the essential question. You can't talk about the same profession twice. Then in complete sentences, you will answer the question below with claim, evidence, and reasoning. Which was the most important profession in the lower class? So for this one, you can pick any profession. For this one, it has to be in the lower class. And that is so important, it's worth 10 points. Once you have done that, you get to choose the next 2 topics you talk about. You can either talk about architecture, religion, trade, writing, or mummification. Now, friends, here's a stupid question. Are you talking about any architecture? Are you talking about like Spanish architecture from the 1970s? No, you were talking about ancient Egyptian architecture. When you're talking about religion, are you talking about Christianity or Buddhism or Hinduism? No, you're talking about the ancient Egyptian religion. Okay, just making sure we understood. So then you're going to pick one topic from the list here. You're going to circle it. Then you will describe it, fully explain what the topic is. You might not have enough space on your note taker to do this, so then you're going to have to describe it on your own piece of paper. And then you answer the essential question. Were tombs, if it's architecture, were tombs, temples, and monuments important to the ancient Egyptian culture? If you chose religion, which god or goddess would have been the most important, meaning who was prayed to most often, to the ancient Egyptians? If you chose trade, is bartering a good economic system? If you chose writing, was writing important to ancient Egyptians? And if you chose mummification, was it fair that only important people were mummified and guaranteed an afterlife? And when you're answering that question, do you have your appropriate citation included? That's worth half a point. Those add up. So you're doing that for both page 3 and page 4. They're the exact same. The last 15 ways you can earn points is your organization. Is it organized, neat? Is the spelling correct? Is your grammar correct? Is it done with care? That's worth 10 points overall. Friends, that is a fifth. That is 20% of your overall grade. And then here's an extra credit opportunity. Color and creativity. That's a chance for you to earn some 5 extra points. So when I'm grading this, I'm going to look and see, do you have all these things? And I'm going to put your score for each of them here. I'm going to add it all up, and it's out of 50. Now let's take a look at your note taker. First, choose your 2 topics. Hopefully you've already done that. Copy the essential questions for your topics in the space provided. Then write a claim by answering the essential question in a complete sentence. Find evidence on the internet that supports the claim. Then provide relevant reasoning by explaining how the evidence supports the claim. Okay, so our first topic is the one that Ms. Hawkins chose for us, and that's social hierarchy. Now, I've changed up the note taker a little bit from what you guys currently have. This is for next year, but it's the same idea. On your scratch paper and on this note taker, you are going to pick a profession and explain why it was important. Any profession. I'm going to choose artisans. So here, I'm going to type artisans were important because, and then I'm going to fill in a blank. This, friends, is not a claim. All I have to do is pick a profession and explain why it was important. The profession I chose, there, is artisans, and here I'm going to explain why they were important. Okay? Then, so I have this part done. That's done. So I'm going to cross that off on my paper just to make my life easier. On my scratch paper, I have drawn and labeled a social hierarchy pyramid. So I'm going to say that's done. Now I have to answer which was the most important profession in the lower class. That's this big part. So I've got my essential question here already and my claim. I'm going to say, I think the most important profession in the lower class were the farmers. Uh-oh. What are you saying? Oh, you're right. I can't say I think. That makes it a very weak claim, and we are not very weak writers. So instead, I'm just going to erase that, and I'm going to say the most important profession in the lower class were the farmers. Perfect. So now I'm going to go to the amazing Google machine, and I'm going to type in farmers in ancient Egypt. Because remember, my wonderful human beings, we're not talking about farmers today. We're not talking about farmers in the 1400s. We're talking about farmers in ancient Egypt. So this looks like good information. Most of the farmers from ancient Egypt were peasants. When the pharaoh owned a farm, he would hire peasants to come and do his farming for him. The farmers would take care of all the land, which was normally a lot owned by a pharaoh. Villagers were also farmers. I want to use that, but I remember in the rubric that I need a citation. So I need to actually go to that website. So I'm going to click here, because if that's right there, then it's in that website. Oh my gosh, and it still has it highlighted for me. They would live in towns and would take care of the farming so that they could eat and support their families. All of that sounds pretty darn important, right? But I don't want to copy all that. That's just too much. So I'm going to look and I'm going to say, which is the most important sentence in here? I like that. The one talking about the pharaoh. Because if the king of the entire civilization thought they were important, then I think they're pretty darn important too. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that. Am I done? I've quoted directly from a source. I need my quotation marks and my citation. That's right. Okay, so at the beginning and at the end, and then my citation, I'm just going to do historyforkids.net. Make my life a little bit easy. So now I have to do my reasoning. Explain how the evidence supports the claim. Here are some sentences that I can use. So I could even say this evidence supports the claim because it shows that the pharaoh trusted the farmers to feed him and his family. And this is important because farmers grow the food for the entire empire. Okay, the reasoning is your explanation of how the evidence supports the claim. And then we go down to our next topic. So for my next topic, I chose trade. And with trade, the first thing that I need to do is describe it, fully explain what the topic is. So again, the note taker looks a little bit different, but that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to type my topic is trade. And then down here in this space, I'm going to describe it. Trade in ancient, spell everything correctly, Egypt was when people would barter with other professions to get what they needed to survive. Okay? And then here in the claim column, I'm going to copy the essential question. Now you're doing this by hand. I get to do it by computer. So I'm just literally going to go and I'm going to copy. And then down here, I'm just going to paste it. Is bartering a good economic system? Now, I'm going to go back to Google and I'm going to type, is bartering a good economic system in Egypt? Hey, look, the first thing that pops up, was Egypt a barter economy? Without a currency, you know what? I'm just going to go straight to the whole thing. And it pops me right to exactly where it was. Trade and currency. Trade was an important part of ancient Egyptian civilization, and without the pharaohs, it would not have been able to acquire the wealth necessary for their expensive building projects. The Egyptians were expert agriculturalists, and in some years they produced far more grain than they could consume or even store. This made trade of that grain, that excess grain, possible. Without a currency, so they did not have money, remember. Trade within Egypt and with other states was done via a barter system. Rather than buying goods from other countries like nations around the world do today, trade was quite literally trade. Egypt might trade 1,000 bushels of grain for 500 yards of wool, kind of like we did in class, but they wouldn't pay for wood with currency. While Egyptians did not use currency, they did use a unit of measure that made trading easier. This was the deben. And so it's got a lot of information about trade, which is really, really cool. Oh gosh, I've already forgotten. Our essential question is bartering a good economic system? Well, I'm going to say yes. Is that how I write a claim? No. Can I say yes, bartering was a good economic system? No, because when we have that explicit answer to the question, it makes our writing weak. So we're going to take out that yes, and that leaves us with bartering was a good economic system. Is that a solid answer? Yes, it is. So we're doing our evidence and our reasoning again. Remember, we are quoting directly from the source, include quotation marks and your citation. So if I'm going back to the text, I'm going to say, although this was the part that was highlighted on Google, I actually think the first full sentence is the most important. Trade was an important part of ancient Egyptian civilization, and without it, the pharaohs would not have been able to acquire the wealth necessary for the expensive building projects. So that is what I'm going to put as my evidence. Remember, I'm going to include my quotation marks and my citation, and then I'm going to include my reasoning. I'm going to explain how this evidence supports my claim. And then I go down to my last topic. So if I did trade here, then I cannot do trade here. I get to choose either agriculture, religion, writing, or mummification. I'm going to choose agriculture or architecture, not agriculture. I'm going to choose architecture. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to Google and I'm just going to copy and paste my essential question. And there is so much information about this. Now you do not have to do tombs and temples and monuments. So you can just choose one and make your life a little bit easier. If you are struggle busing, I have provided 3 different articles for you. So I've got ancient Egyptian farming, I have trade and bartering in ancient Egypt, and I have mummification. Okay, the answers to the essential questions are in each of these topics or each of these texts. And I found the text just by Googling the essential question. I'm short on time, but as always, if you have questions, if you need help, please do not hesitate to ask. Be good people, make good choices, go